Did you want some coffee?
Nah, I'm good.
No?
I'm
Okay.
good. We're rolling. We're hot. We're hot.
All right.
Been a long time coming. Shall we?
Let's do it.
Hello, everyone. It is once again Shiftless. It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute.
I'm having withdrawals. I'm gonna need some phenobarbital to knock out the DTs.
I don't even know what that is.
I know.
You're way too ingrained in the drug community.
Yeah. Lots of time around the ICU lately.
Oh, God. Yeah, how is your old man?
No, he's doing as well as and better than can be expected. So that's about all you can ask for, right?
I would anticipate that's the case since you're back in Texas.
It's one of those. There's not a lot that I can do at the moment, but as pieces come together, we'll sort that out.
Yeah.
We're playing the insurance game at the moment. They're denying his therapy coverage, but the therapy place told us they would. So now it's just the game.
It's so ridiculous.
It's beyond ridiculous. But hey, that has almost nothing to do with bicycles. And this is the show that's nothing but bicycles, right?
Speaking of which, I happened across your, I don't even know what platform it was, the video you put out talking about just getting on your bike and getting out the door and avoiding traffic. And you said when you get into traffic, you don't hesitate to put your e-bike in boost. And anyways, I told you all that to tell you that where you were riding looked really cool.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing. And hey, if you want to check it out, visit our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ministry.
Oh, was that on the YouTubes?
The full version is.
Oh, okay.
The full version is. That I think you probably watched the highlight reel truncated thing.
Yeah.
But the short story was that was my getaway, 3 different rides last week.
Cool.
When I had about an hour to an hour and a half to myself, about roll out of my folks' garage, about a half mile down the road, you pick up this nice paved pathway that leads to this nature preserve area. And
Yeah, it looked really cool.
it was really neat. It was a fantastic ride. And it was one of those I had no idea it was there. It was
Yeah.
I knew the paved pathways were there around their neighborhood, and I looked at the Ride with GPS overview map the night before. It looks like there's possibly a dirt road down there.
That is very cool. I wish there was still stuff for me to find around here.
Hey, there's something to be found everywhere, but just some spots are better than others. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No DJ Khaled today.
No DJ Khaled today.
And just to let everyone know, because we absolutely got 0 up from last week.
We tried. Mama knows we tried.
When you look up clusterfuck on the online
Dictionary definition.
it will be a picture. Well, and you don't even know the worst of it. So
Don't tell me it didn't even record. It's probably for the better.
I take it back. There is some kind of recording in this thing.
Yeah.
But the sharing the room platform, the Descript that we were using, evidently I forgot to hit record. I think I hit the test recording.
Oh, that's so fitting. I'm actually relieved because if we would have had good content, then it would have been upsetting.
There was 0 content. That was a dumpster fire. And did y'all ever figure out what the root cause of it all was?
I think we just associated it with my internet connection couldn't support it because it was trying to stream everything and sync everything. And
that does make sense. But but all the feedback and echoes and that was so weird.
It was awful. It was like a torture. It was just as soon as one thing gets solved, something else. And it was just, I mean, we did try a solid 20 minutes.
It was Three Stooges, circa 21st century.
And I was not the weakest link, just for those keeping score at home.
It was pretty even footing all the way across the board there.
Proof in the pudding that we didn't even get it recorded.
I was feeling pretty good with myself.
That had nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me.
That said, I'm heading east again next week, so we need to sort out
we definitely need to sort things out.
Hey, you need to get that computer cleaned up or sorted or replaced or something.
I'm thinking about getting a new computer, but they're so damn expensive.
Do you perchance have a monitor. The new Mac Minis that just came out are ridiculously affordable, and it's got so much more. It's $600, man.
Yeah, but it's not practical.
Probably the new AirBook is probably going to go over
Yeah.
the top for you. I think those are, what, 900 or
Yeah.
1,000, something like that. They've probably got a firm or whatever, shop payment or whatever.
It just makes me mad because I don't want to spend my money on computers.
I understand.
I like
mean,
bicycles.
I love bicycles. I love all sorts of bicycles.
God, we rode bikes last night. The weather was amazing. It was our first ride backwards at North Shore. And we probably had 20 plus people.
Okay.
It was incredible. The weather was perfect. Trail was, yeah, I don't know if that trail could have been in better shape, just from the rain that we've had and the traffic that the trails had. The weather, once again. Hell, how about this weather? It seems spooky for November.
I don't want to sound like I'm complaining because I'm really not. This is awesome at the moment.
Yeah,
It's not.
that's what I'm saying. This is spooky.
Yeah. And Florida was just, it was,
The leaves are still green, Kevin.
yeah, they were having record high temperatures in Florida while I was there. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. It was like one of I had to ride in the mornings.
Global warming is real.
I just know it's hot.
Yeah.
I'm not going down that path.
I was just trying to goat you.
I know you are.
Yeah. I don't.
That's outside my field of expertise, and
I
it's
don't believe
outside
in
of everyone's field of expertise.
I don't believe
that's
in
listening
it.
to this.
I just think things change, and we try to
Okay.
get patterns with it.
It's outside your field of expertise,
Mm.
Bradford.
100%. I just know water boils slower.
At altitude. And I learned that the hard way. I had no idea. I was a flatlander. We go up to Red River, New Mexico. We're trying to cook spaghetti, and the damn water just won't boil. What the hell's going? This is the
Yeah.
worst stove ever.
Oh, let me see. Riding bike. We had a good group last night. But we did. The NICA kids are firing back up out there. So there was quite a few kids on the trail. And they were all super cool because they're going the right way. And we were going the opposite way. So there was equal yielding going on. Nobody flustered or anything. But this is,
Bigger group always has the right of way, right?
that's, hey, the more lumens you have, the more right of way you have. Speaking of which, I'm also in the market for a new light. Just because my light's not, I get washed out by people behind me.
Okay.
Like where my light just seems like it's not doing anything.
Okay. Well, they're doing the heavy lifting for you. What's wrong with that?
And that's true. But I need a new pair of shoes too. It sucks when you ride so much, your shit just wears out. My shoes, you need to see my shoes. There's a hole in the toe on the bottom of my shoes. The carbon has literally just split, and there's a hole.
Right. And how old are these?
This year, January.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
I think I bought them in January.
I would say don't buy those again.
But I love them. That's the problem.
Which
But my problem is I ride with the same pair of shoes every time I ride.
I understand, but
Yeah.
I've got shoes that are 6 years old, and there were spills in there that there was high mileage put on. Now, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, they are worn out.
Yeah.
There's no ifs
No,
about that. But
I have some CDs that are probably 10 or 15 years
Right.
old that have thousands
so
of miles on them.
when I'm not trying to knock any
Oh.
brand, what shoes are these?
They're Pearl Izumi, what are they? Pro Performance or something like that.
Gotcha.
So it's a dual BOA system, nice gum rubber sole, lugged. I think it's supposed to be their gravel style shoe.
Okay.
It's a stiffer sole, obviously, with the carbon. But I just love the way pearls fit my feet. We've talked about that before, where
Shoes and helmets are the same thing.
Yeah.
You got to find what's right
what
for
fits
you.
you. Yeah. Pearls fit my feet really well. I've been wanting to try something with a bigger toe box, like a Bont, or I think even Lake is supposed to have big
Yes.
toe boxes.
Yes.
But I've never been drawn to Lake shoes. They don't do it for me visually. It's like
Aesthetics are important.
I want to put my shoes on.
You don't want to see my current riding shoes. You would be distressed.
Yeah.
But
Are
hey,
they for flats?
They are.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll show it to you.
Doesn't really matter. Are those Merrells?
They are Keens.
Keens. Yeah, they have big wide toe boxes too.
They do.
I'm not a hater of Keen.
These are warehouse shoes, actually.
They are grandpa shoes though.
So they've got
No laces,
no-
slip-ons.
slip-ons, carbon toe, carbon sole.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So they're like smash your toe proof?
Yep.
Okay. What's the thought process behind that?
I had my Keen trail walkers that had the laces.
Mm-hmm.
And the laces got caught up in the chain ring one time. I ain't doing that no more.
Yeah, I don't understand. Caleb prefers laces on shoes. I prefer Velcro or boas, and boas preferably, because they're a lot more adjustable on the fly and stuff. I told Caleb, I said, dude, the last thing I want to do is after riding 100 miles and having mud caked on my feet and stuff, is to have to dick around with laces to get my shoes off.
Yep.
There's something about reaching down and going, doot, doot,
Well, but
taking
after
your
my
shoes off.
experience with that Silka, because I've never had BOA shoes, and after my experience with that Silka bag, I have no ambition for BOA shoes.
I would
But
say you should reserve judgment for at least one more experience. Because-
I don't dispute that,
Yeah.
but I wasn't staying away from BOA. I stayed away from BOAs because I was always seeing people having problems with BOAs. BOAs are like 29-inch wheels. It took a while for.
But everybody has problems with women too, but you don't stay away from them. How was your first experience with a woman? Less than desirable, I would imagine.
The real question is, what was her experience with me? Definitely less than desirable.
So how does the boa feel about you, I guess is the question.
The BOA hates me.
No,
the BOA was like, that was way too fast. Should have lasted longer.
So I think boas are really cool, but I do think that a lot of people try to put them in applications where they're not necessarily the best. And that saddlebag is one of those things.
Again, I'm going down a different path because, like I said, I've gone down the direction of embracing the flat pedal. And, we're a year and a half into that experiment now, and I really haven't come across any negatives from it. I'm not saying I'm not the flat pedal evangelist. Oh, flats are great. You should never ride. No, they work for my purposes at the moment. And actually, that was another reason I went with these shoes with the carbon sole on them. The only drawback I was having on flats once we started doing those long rides.
Yeah, hot spots.
And I would do the stand up and put weight on the pedal thing, and the pegs would actually go up through the rubber soles.
Yeah. If you remember, we talked about the shoe is just as important as the pedal.
Agreeance.
And even in the flat pedal scenario.
Agreement.
Yeah.
It's more of a factor than I expected. And it's also one of those, the longer rides you do, the more you do find that out.
You definitely want something that's grippy, something that's comfortable, but you have to find that balancing act between stiffness and comfortability. And then you also want something that has a little bit of padding in the sole because of like rough terrain and stuff like that. You don't want to be able to feel those pins. You don't want to ride a pair of Vans or an old pair of Chuck Taylors or something like that. You remember Chuck Taylors, you could just walk down the gravel road and feel every pebble.
You could feel it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have to talk about something that's on my mind. My buddy was in an accident yesterday, as we've discussed, and regardless of the circumstances, and we still don't know what exactly happened, but he's undergoing surgery, I believe, right now. But broken leg, to say the least, and just shaken up. His bike is absolutely beyond destroyed. His frame was broken in, 9 places. It just looks like something chewed it up. Both of his cranks broke clean off. Pedals were destroyed.
Yeah, I don't want to share a whole lot of detail because we don't know a whole lot, but I know people that are listening are going, what the hell? Yeah. Let me give my just thumbnail sketch of the situation, and if you think any of it needs cleaning up, go right ahead. Yeah. Basically, some sort of entanglement with a rock hauler is we're going to go as basic as that, but cut and dried, he's surviving this. It's broken bones and things like that at the moment.
He's in better shape than he deserves to be.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. So serious damage to a leg, but a bunch of other stuff.
But they said full recovery. They said the bike can be replaced. It's not that big of a deal. But I'm glad I saw him before I saw his bike. Legitimately.
Okay. And I haven't seen either. I don't know that I want to see the bike, to be honest with you, but. Not right now, anyway. Maybe after I have some time to digest. I've still got hangover issues from mine.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, first name okay?
Yeah.
Ryan, we wish you the best, buddy.
Yeah. Thinking about you. Can't stop thinking about you.
Yeah. You're top of mind. Everybody out there, please give Ryan and his loved ones all your best wishes, thoughts, and prayers, whatever is appropriate in your zone, and just, man, keep your head on a swivel. Be super, super careful out there.
Yeah, don't let your guard down.
Yeah.
On to brighter pastures. I'm sorry, I just had to mention it. It
No,
was just driving me crazy.
yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. I didn't know how to broach it, so I didn't want to jump.
I learned something yesterday that I did not know, and I feel like I had understood it one way, and that's how it was, and I just never thought it changed, and I learned that it had changed. I just learned yesterday that if you are a lifetime gym member, that you automatically get an entry into Leadville or any other lifetime race.
You learned that, or you thought that?
I learned that yesterday.
I did not know that was the case.
That makes two of us. So apparently,
I thought even lifetime members still had to qualify.
so the event that was discussed initially with a buddy of mine was Leadville. And I was like, are you sure about that? And he goes, 100%. He said, if you've had, now here's the deal, you've had to have a membership for 6 months. It's not, you can't just go get a membership and then sign up.
Right.
And then I was talking to Caleb about it last night because I was still mystified. I was like, I just thought that Lifetime ran the events, because I feel like when Lifetime first took over, I don't think it was Leadville. I think it was Unbound. I remember.
No, they did Leadville first.
They did Leadville first. And I remember you and I having a conversation. I was like, is this a way to coerce people to become lifetime members and backdoor their way into this and grow the Lifetime brand and all this stuff? I was speculating that there was a lot of other plays going on. And when they first started, that was not the case at all. Lifetime members, I don't think, got any kind of special treatment other than day of event. If you're a Lifetime member, you got swag or something.
But that's when they created their qualifier series. So like the Austin Rattler.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So for Leadville, they built the qualifier series for it because it was
Understood.
only limited spots available in general. I think it used to be 300 spots. Obviously, that's bigger now, right? That's tremendously bigger. So maybe that's part of what changed. Maybe I can't speak to the specifics, but they definitely had the qualifier series, and they used the qualifiers to drive that lifetime membership. Because I think and I'm speaking out of turn. I can't remember the
Lifetime members who have held a club access membership. Now, I don't know what that level of membership.
That might be a higher level of membership.
For at least 6 months prior to lottery/registration are eligible for guaranteed entry into Leadville Race Series events. And that includes all of the Leadville, like the run and everything.
Right.
So I just asked about Leadville. Let me see.
What was the name of that one again?
Club access membership.
I will look that up.
Let's look up Unbound, because I'm curious if that's the case too. Because after I talked to this guy, I talked to Caleb, and Caleb said, yeah, that's the case. Yeah. He said it hasn't always been the case. It just happened 2 years ago.
Okay, that makes sense.
So this says Lifetime members who have held a club access membership for at least 6 months prior to the lottery are eligible for guaranteed entry into the Unbound Gravel XL 200 and 100 events. So that was news to me.
Understood.
Because I remember having the conversation and thinking, oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah.
Only to find out that I was not right.
It is over $100 a month membership level. And
Yeah.
It says it varies by location and so forth. And I'm not going to go offline and dig into all the details of it. But yeah, it does make sense that something within the past couple of years. Yes, that's definitely not how it originated.
Right. But you were completely unaware of that too, right?
I think now that we're talking about it, I think I was aware of it, but I didn't know the details. I think I was under the impression it was like a Club Spinistry titanium level member or something like that. But I don't know that for certain. And I'm not up to speed with the lifetime membership levels.
Yeah, but it was just, you know how you've always thought like one thing and then all of a sudden you realize that it's completely the opposite, and then just you're like, whoa, that's how it was. So I just wanted to bring it up because hell, we might have one of our 13 listeners might be a lifetime club access member, and they might not realize that they don't have to go do the Austin Rattler to get into Leadville.
I think there's still some benefits to the qualification, like corrals and so forth.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
But I'm not positive of that. My guess is Justin knows all this stuff inside and out, would be my guess.
Yeah, but Justin's a CrossFitter, so he doesn't belong to Lifetime.
But I bet he is detail-oriented enough on stuff to be aware.
But is he? Do you really think he is?
He knows the difference between a tablespoon and a tea. No, he doesn't. Wait a minute.
I was going to say, but does he? You're so cute, Justin.
Justin, we love you, buddy. We love
Now,
you.
don't make the mistake. And then proceeds to immediately make the same mistake he warned against. It was adorable.
Oh, my gracious.
My kid has done that before, by the way. They were making cookies out of a cookbook. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get some water.
That's all right.
They were making some cookies out of a cookbook, and it called for a teaspoon of salt. And
He did a tablespoon?
Lo and behold, they put a tablespoon of salt. And they insisted that I taste the cookies. And when I tasted, I was like, "What happened here?" And they thought I was just being mean.
Thought you were being an ass.
Yeah, and then they tasted them, and they were like, "We must have got our TSP confused with our TBSP."
Just tell him to watch Justin's video next time. He'll set him straight.
It happens. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
But along those lines, and I guess Lifetime is a bridge to some extent, because some time ago, when we did record a shiftless episode, we were pondering.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
We were pondering where the elite gravel racing might be headed and what things might look like for 2025.
Yes.
And lo and behold, just a couple days after that, there was this announcement that Gravel Worlds is going to be having a $100,000 payout for one race.
Wow.
We were debating, is Lifetime the premier event going forward, or are other people going to come into the mix? And it's like Belgian Waffle Ride, are they going to? And then out of nowhere, Gravel Worlds, $100,000 purse.
I feel like that might have been cooking behind the scenes for quite some time, and there were people.
Obviously.
No, but I'm saying there were people that were privy to it in that circle, in the Lifetime Grand Prix elite athletes
I'm sure.
circle.
I'm sure.
And that affected their decision.
And yeah, we're back to, I think elite gravel racing is elite gravel racing, but I don't think it's dependent on Lifetime at this point. Now, what does that look like next year? Who knows?
It's going to be interesting
What does it
either
look like
way.
5 years from now? Who knows?
I was listening to Bonk Bros, and they were talking.
I'm a few episodes behind on that, but
They were talking about this. They were talking about just acceptance, like getting accepted. Like Dylan got accepted, and
but Drew did not.
that I didn't know. I haven't listened to his.
I saw a smart ass post,
Yeah.
so I assume he didn't.
Yeah, I didn't anticipate he would, and I know very little, so take that for what it's worth. But he said that they don't let you know when you get accepted. They wait until they make the mass announcement.
The overall announcement.
Yeah, so everybody finds out at the same time. But they were talking about, what if Lifetime just decided to shake things up and didn't allow the top man and the top woman in next year to decrease the dominance, to shake it up and make it look a little bit more interesting. But it was obviously just a thought exercise, because Lifetime would.
That would be shooting themselves in the foot. But yeah.
But
Sounds like something Spinistry might. I'm good at shooting myself in the foot.
oh. When you said ponder, I was thinking, I saw an article about the pawn bike
Yes.
where they were eliminating. I'm trying to remember what the whole thing was. Pawn bike will close its current European plant. So that's where Santa Cruz is made.
Santa Cruz and Cervelo e-bikes are
Cervelo,
made.
Yeah. Oh, e-bikes. Mm-hmm. Is it only their e-bike?
That it's not crystal clear, but that's the impression I'm under.
Huh. So is this one of the big three that we heard is... But Santa Cruz isn't really one of the big three.
But Pawn is. Pawn is huge. Pawn is huge.
So I thought we were talking about the big three. We're talking about Specialized, Trek, and Giant.
Yes.
And then Pawn's just like a mother brand.
It's a global brand sort of thing. Or, an umbrella company with a gazillion brands underneath it. But if Pawn were to fail, that would be huge. No, and I'm not saying this. No, this is not indicative of Pawn failing by any stretch of the imagination. What that one's indicative of, to my brain anyway, and the recent Yamaha announcement as well, e-bikes are getting slaughtered now, where the traditional bike industry for the past couple of years has just been getting hammered, and everyone was talking e-bikes are the salvation. No, e-bikes are getting crushed right now.
Is it because the market's changing so rapidly in the e-bike market
this is all just going to be Evan
Yeah, that's all we're here
opinion.
for. We're here to talk shit and
Yeah,
make mistakes and lie.
just pull things out of our ass.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of key pieces to it.
There's no mention of e-bike in this article, for the record.
Other stuff I've seen specifically mentioned the Santa Cruz e-bikes were made there. And I assume the Cervelo ones were. I assumed it was an e-bike facility. It was a new factory they opened 2 years ago, and they're closing that particular factory, but they're whatever is going to still be manufactured that used to be manufactured there will be manufactured at another facility they have. But they didn't go into the specific details of which models.
It says that they canceled their team, their Santa Cruz Rock Shocks Pro team, and they're restructuring the company.
Yep.
But this assembly plant, and not to disparage 80 people, but it's only 80 people that are going to lose their job. I understand that still affects 80 families and everything.
This is one factory. It's not Pawn as a whole.
Yeah.
This is one facility.
Right. And my heart still goes out to those 80 people that are going to be displaced. But
and I'm under the impression it's an e-bike centric facility, but knowledge on my end. But e-bikes are getting hammered right now. Yamaha just pulled out of the e-bike market as well.
What's the story with Yamaha?
I don't know the specifics. It's just e-bikes. Sales are soft.
But they're still going to keep making synthesizers, right?
Yeah, just out of the e-bikes. So Casio's going to start making e-bikes now.
So I literally did not even realize that Yamaha was making e-bikes. Are they making them under the Yamaha brand? Are they creating the motors? Or
I don't know that level of detail. I'm under the impression that they were sold.
Fucking bug flew in my mouth.
Protein, man. Protein.
Free range protein.
I'm under the impression they were selling them at the Yamaha motorcycle dealers.
Like a Saron kind of thing? Or like a full-blown...
mountain bike.
Why don't I look it up on my Googleizer here?
The Dorba Facebook group and the DFW mountain bike group, they've been talking up the Yamaha stuff for the past couple months because they were such good deals. And, oh, wow, they cut their prices by 30 or by 6% or whatever it was. That's usually not a good sign, guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Huge price savings. But they look like shit.
I hadn't looked that closely.
They look like something you would buy at Academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, I don't know the level of detail, but I know it was a big focus of Yamaha's a couple of years ago. And then they did create an awareness fluff on their e-bikes. Yeah. But e-bikes in general, the sales are softer than expected, and companies are having issues with them. Personally, I think there's a couple of key reasons for it. The
market's so saturated. There's
so
many brands.
Yeah, the market is saturated by brands, but also obviously by the cheap Temu, Alibaba, and whatever other...
Shein.
What other direct stuff is out there for $800 that, been burning down apartment complexes in New York and all that. But
allegedly.
But the legislation that's coming about because of those alleged incidents, I think that's softening up the market. I think that sort of press is not helping the case. But it's also back to, I think it's what they ran into with the enduro bikes too, which some of those evolved into e-bikes. The new e-bike and enduro bike crowd that's come on in the past several years, it's not your traditional N+1 cyclists. And these people aren't getting a bike this year and upgrading it next year, or getting a second bike, a third bike, and they're buying their $6,000 bike. And when it breaks, they're done riding. They go on to the next hobby, sort of thing. And there's a lot of that. There is a lot of that going on. And the whole bicycle industry is built around that N+1 culture at this time.
It's interesting. I took Gage on Saturday. I promise this has a tie-in.
I believe you.
I took Gage on Saturday to get a cowboy hat in Decatur, Texas. This little place called Bigger Hats. That's where I got my straw hat, and I wanted him to have kind of the same experience because it meant a lot to me. And the guy, as soon as Gage was in love with this hat, tried it on. It's his hat now. It's been formed to his head. We paid for said hat. Not cheap for a good cowboy hat, by the way. And the guy goes, yeah, you're going to get what we call hat crazy, which is the same thing as in the bike world. He goes, as soon as you get one hat, you just want another hat. He goes, even people that have traditionally not worn hats, once they get used to wearing a hat, all they want is another hat. And he was already planting that seed in Gage's brain about, yeah, you're going to want another hat
Because you're a hat guy.
because you're a hat guy. And I was like, immediately, I thought, there's fucking N+1 right here in the hat world, in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
cowboy hat world. And I was like, it makes sense. If you were a cowboy hat guy, you can't just wear a black felt hat all the time. You got to have a brown one and a gray one, and it just goes on. And then, oh, I need a formal hat and maybe a playful hat. I was like, oh, I can't imagine. Some of their cowboy hats are $2,000.
Right.
And I'm like, does it get basic cable? Can I watch YouTubes on it? It's crazy. But I did not even think about that when it came to hats. Bikes, it's just an understood. As soon as you get one bike, you want another bike.
But all the hobbies, all the niches are
yeah.
that way.
Oh, yeah.
RC cars, RC airplanes, photography, audio stuff.
Yeah.
Or, how many mechanics and carpenters do you know that
Have one screwdriver. Yeah.
they look for a reason to buy that one specific rat-tailed file that's only for a 3mm hole
Yeah.
sort of thing, or whatever,
Tools make the job easier. I've always been a fan of tools. But
That's all a bike is.
Yeah.
It's a tool, not a toy. I tell
Yeah.
my wife that constantly.
yeah, it really is. Yeah, I was thinking about that last night if I couldn't ride my bike. Like, there's so many things that I garner from my bicycle: health, camaraderie, community, just adventure, experience,
Yeah.
testing. There's 100 things that come with it. And people that aren't cyclists just look at it and go, you're a grown person that rides a bicycle. And it's far more than that.
I agree with you completely, but you can't convince people that are outside
No.
that realm.
I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. What else is going on in the bicycle? There was something else in the news that I was thinking about, and I cannot recall.
Now,
So back to the e-bike thing real quick, though. How does that look for like the DJI motor that's coming out and all these motors that are hitting the market and all the batteries and stuff that are getting upgraded? Am I correct in thinking that as the e-bike, slow down, Brad,
Yeah,
as the
yeah.
e-bike market kind of backslides a little bit, people are going, I say people, but companies are going to be slower to bring things to market because there's not as much of a desire. They're not getting top dollar for products any longer. The innovation, is it going to slow innovation? And is that a self-fulfilling prophecy of some sort of the e-bike
Yeah.
market collapsing a little bit? Not collapsing entirely, but does that make sense?
it makes all the sense in the world. I think we're going to find out in the next couple of years that there's a lot of companies that put a lot of development and investment into e-bikes that are going to lose their ass on it, quite frankly. And DJI may be one of them, or that may go the other route. They may
Just rule the roost.
they may set the standard of, okay, e-bikes are something different. It's not appropriate for Giant or Specialized or Salsa or whoever to be making e-bikes. You guys need to keep with just your traditional pedal-powered stuff. E-bikes are a specialty. I'm not saying that's the case. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be surprised if it went that direction, though. And the reality is if they're all gunning for the $10,000 e-bike market and DJI puts out something that's twice as impressive as anyone else at the same price point,
Which seems to be the case right
it
now.
seems to be the case at the moment.
I want to ride one.
Yeah, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But that said, I still think there's a very limited market for $10,000 e-bike purchasers myself. I could be wrong. You can get a nice motorcycle for half that price.
Yeah. It is pretty insane how nice of a motorcycle you can get for the price of an e-bike.
You get a very nice e-bike or motorcycle for 10 grand.
Oh yeah. But it's somehow in my brain, and I think in a lot of people's brains, bicycle is a lot more approachable as a novice, as a complete amateur. If I've never ridden a bicycle before,
I don't think a $10,000 bicycle is, though, is my point.
but it's still more approachable, not from a financial standpoint, from a skills, from a learning standpoint. I feel like more people have at least a working knowledge of bicycles versus a working knowledge of motorcycles. They have a level of experience, whether it was up until the age they were 6, they rode a bike every day or whatever. But for the most part, Americans have experience with bicycles. And I just think that bikes are a lot more approachable. Even if you've never owned a bicycle as an adult, I feel like you're a lot more inclined to buy a bike than a motorcycle.
I think the $10,000 e-bike market going forward is not bringing in new cyclists. It's existing cyclists that are aging out or injuring out or whatever else. And like my experience with the e-bike, either it replaces what you're not able to do anymore, or it helps bridge you back to that level. I think I'm the nothing new here. I think I'm the odd man out in that I'm using the e-bike as a bridge back.
Yeah.
I think most people that go e-bike this is my
It's a
primary
slip.
tool going forward. It's real easy to not get into ride every day mode. If you're just leaning on the e-bike, you can ride once a month and keep up with everybody.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. Again, the camaraderie aspect of it is huge. And the camaraderie doesn't necessarily have to be wheel to wheel or side by side on the trail. The camaraderie aspect could just be the circle afterwards.
Yeah. Great circle last night, by the way.
Good deal.
Yeah. And I guess it makes sense that if e-bike users are not your typical N+1, then the market gets saturated pretty quickly. But what astounds me is I'd be hard pressed to tell you how many e-bike brands there are, much less how many different models each brand makes. It just seems like
I mean,
there's literally hundreds.
all the permutations of all the different bikes right now
Yeah.
is absolutely ridiculous.
But basically you take almost every bike you can think of and there is an e version of said bike almost. It's almost like a parallel universe.
At the moment,
Yeah.
I think that's going to consolidate.
I agree.
I could be proven wrong.
Yeah.
I could be proven wrong.
Like I think e-cargos make a ton of sense.
Make a lot of sense.
E-city bikes make a ton of sense.
Yes.
E-full-blown...
They make a lot of sense in Europe, but not necessarily.
Yeah, I'm talking about from a global standpoint.
No, I understand. I understand.
I mean, granted, you wouldn't want an e-commuter and live where I live in the I can't say that word, rural area.
I know what you mean.
But if you lived in a city, like if you lived in Austin, I'd say, yeah, go for it. If you lived in downtown Dallas, somewhere like that, or I don't know, or European city that's structured for cycling and everything else. And I also think an e full-blown mountain bike makes sense. But an e road bike, I don't get that. But I also don't get road bikes very well. And an e gravel bike, I guess, makes sense. I think when the DJI motors starts to become the norm and people are reaching beyond that, and then batteries catch up to all this alleged projected, and the range gets to that sweet spot where it's easily 100 miles, I think that's when there's going to be a lot more evolution in the e-bike.
We're back to even with e-assist. How many people out there are actually interested in spending 5-6 hours a day on a bicycle? I said how many?
Yeah.
It's a niche, even in the cycling community. The real sweet spot is 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
And e-bikes are there now.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. Yeah, my Tributary has that all-day range to it. But from a day-to-day bike use perspective, that Confluence I like that bike a lot more, quite frankly, than the Tributary. But it's not, the Confluence isn't going to go for 100 miles with e-assist. But it's also light enough that if I do run out of battery and I have to pedal it, I can. The Tributary, I don't want to pedal that more than I absolutely have to without assistance. So it's a balancing act.
The Confluence is the one with the hub, right?
Yeah. I've been actually pretty pleased with that. And I think...
Does it offer equal assist, or is there a noticeable difference?
No, there's a noticeable difference, but it's plenty of assist. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that DI bike like.
The videos I've watched it's just power on tap.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to touch on, since we've missed so much news the past few weeks, and this was, again, this is a follow-up to something we'd spoken about before. Did you see where Lifetime is working with USA Cycling and the guys out at, what's that ride called out by Caprock Canyon that they just had their first gravel race this year, the Valley of Tears, and somebody they're working with all those to do a junior gravel series now. But it's
You said this is
Lifetime and USA Cycling and Valley of Tears, and there was somebody else in the mix too. I can't remember who it was. And that really leans into that collaboration I was talking about. That I wouldn't be surprised if all these, and those were it was interesting to see them working together. We'll see what comes of that down the road, but very interesting.
And am I confused? Is Rides no longer part of the Lifetime series? Is that right?
It's not part of the
Lifetime Grand Prix.
It's not part of the Grand Prix, but it's still an event that Lifetime will be putting on next year. But it's not, and Crusher and the Tusher will be an event next year as well.
But just not.
But they will not be part of the Grand Prix.
Yeah. But then they brought Little Sugar in.
Yep.
Okay. So 2 out, 1 in, and then SBT is a completely different event now.
Yes, it's always been a completely different event.
Yeah, but it's even a completely different event from what it was last year.
Now that you mention it, it might be that other one in the junior series.
That's what I was thinking.
If I go to my news on Spinistry chat, I thought I had that. Wahoo. Okay, USA Cycling announces new Junior Gravel National Series for 2025. So it's announced by USA Cycling. USA Cycling is partnered with Lifetime, SBT Gravel, and Valley of Tears.
Okay, so it's just those 2 events?
3 events.
What? I'm sorry, I missed one of them. SBT, Valley of Tears, and...
Lifetime.
That's an event?
Yeah, Unbound Gravel.
Oh, you said Lifetime.
USA Cycling has partnered with Lifetime.
Yes.
That's one partner.
I heard the partners. You said 3 events.
I don't.
SBT is one event.
SBT, I don't know how they're partnering with Lifetime. I know Unbound is one of them. Is it going to be the whole series? I don't know.
Oh.
But USA Cycling is partnering with Lifetime for an event or multiple events. Don't know. They're partnering with SBT Gravel, and they're partnering with Valley of Tears. So
Wait, USA Cycling is partnering with SBT Gravel.
And Lifetime and Valley of Tears
For
the Junior Gravel National Series.
I'm slightly confused.
Okay. What clarification do you need?
So when you first said it, it sounded like, maybe this is my confusion, but it sounded like you said Lifetime is partnering with USA Cycling and they're going to host a series of gravel events, and SBT was one of them and Valley of Tears was one of them. And then there's another one, or Lifetime's already associated with...
But they're not associated with USA Cycling.
Yeah. Okay. But they're going to do a teen gravel event at Unbound now, and it's going to be USA Cycling sponsored. Is that what I'm understanding?
We don't know all the details.
Oh, okay.
USA Cycling has partnered with all of these events
Okay.
to do a Junior Gravel National Championship. What the details of that are?
But they wouldn't partner with SBT Gravel if they're not going to have an event. USA Cycling.
They wouldn't partner
right?
with any of them.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're still losing me. I don't know.
I'm still lost.
If anybody understands what Brad and I are talking about, please leave comments because I'm completely
Tell
lost.
us what we're talking about. I guess we'll find out more about it, but it sounds like they're going to have, it's got to be at least 3 events, right? That's what I was saying.
One would think.
2 events is good.
Okay, to me, the series itself doesn't mean a big deal. To me, the Junior Gravel Series, okay, fantastic. What's interesting to me is that collaboration.
USA
Cycling, Lifetime, SBT Gravel, and Valley of Tears.
Right.
All of them working together. That feeds into what I was talking about, that Lifetime's going to maybe let somebody else take over the Grand Prix somewhere down the road. I wouldn't be surprised by that.
But it's still Lifetime, what you're talking about. Lifetime and USA Cycling, right?
They're working together at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. I'm equally confused still.
Like when...
Because SBT Gravel was going to be an event no matter what. Whether it's part of Grand Prix or not, it's going to be an event. And
But for them to work with a competitor...
Oh, I see what you're saying. But USA Cycling isn't necessarily...
Is a competitor to all these.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So why...
All these competitors are working together. That's indicative of something. So if Ford and Chevy work together...
Okay.
If Ford, Chevy, and Dodge work together... Or if oh, hey, Fiat, Dodge, and Jeep are all friendly now. Next thing yacht takes them over, and then
Yeah.
that's the way those alliances evolve over time. And I'm just saying, it's just another step in that process that I was roughing out in my head several
Yeah.
episodes ago. I think we're beyond Lifetime being able to justify.
It'll be interesting to see how the Lifetime Grand Prix evolves and takes place this coming year.
We're back to with that Gravel World's $100,000 purse.
Yeah.
That it's super interesting.
What do we know what the date of that is, and does it interfere with
Well,
any Lifetime Grand Prix events?
Traditionally, and this was a kerfluffle back in the day, when SBT Gravel first kicked up, they scheduled the same weekend as Gravel Worlds. I think their first 2 years, and that created a little bit of.
You think that was intentional to create divisiveness, or do you think it was oversight and lack of attention?
I'd best keep my mouth shut on that one.
Why? You're allowed to speculate. Do you think that someone would have the audacity to force people to choose between my event or this other event?
I think that is a very realistic possibility in the realm of people making decisions for stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that the SBT gravel people were of that mindset. And that's why I'm saying I don't want to. Yes, it's definitely in the range of possibility of a strategic move.
Yeah.
We want to be the second best event in gravel,
Yeah.
or the second highest perceived event. So we're going to go head to head first time around with what's there now.
Yeah.
But that was also back when Gravel Worlds was still embracing its grassroots persona, and we don't take ourselves too seriously. But they've obviously moved on from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Speaking of youngins trying to take down heavyweights, you going to watch the Tyson Jake Paul fight on Friday?
I have zero interest in that.
Do you really?
Absolutely zero interest in
You're not a
that.
boxing fan, or you just think it's going to be just a spectacle?
Boxing hasn't been a thing for decades now, but
Oh, no, it has.
no.
Maybe in Kevin's world, but boxing's still alive and well.
Okay.
It's left the front seat for UFC. Mixed martial arts, MMA has taken the spotlight, but boxing is still alive and well.
I don't know if it's well. It's
I think it's an antiquated sport, I'll say that, but
the sweet science. It's past its prime. No ifs, ands, or buts about
Yeah.
it. And I don't necessarily. I was watching live when that South Korean boxer got killed 40 years ago or whatever it was, and that was a wake up call. I was a boxing fan in its prime. I guess everybody was. Everybody was into Muhammad Ali and Evel Knievel, all at the same time.
yeah.
But I'm not. No, I don't care a whole lot for boxing at this time. But I don't think what is boxing now is anywhere near the level of talent that it used to be. Because yes, the talent has gone other directions.
Yeah.
Same as different disciplines. Same as gravel cycling versus road cycling or mountain biking or what.
Yeah.
The high end talent's going to gravel right now.
Yeah.
So
boxing is akin to road riding.
So-
It's very single faceted, and then I see what you're saying.
So it's. I think the boxing talent pool is watered down at the moment, but in my life that doesn't really matter because I don't follow boxing anyway at this time. But I am definitely not going to do anything that's going to put a dime in Jake Paul's pocket or contribute to that or help his brand in any way, shape, or form.
What's going to be on Netflix?
I don't have Netflix. Yeah, he's going to get a piece of, even if it's a quarter of a penny, he gets a piece of every subscriber that's on Netflix somehow or another. So,
I mean, I'm already a Netflix subscriber, and I'm going to
Understood.
be at home on Friday night, so I'm planning on watching it.
I'm not judging. You asked me what I was going to. I
No.
have zero interest.
I was just curious. I like to get other perspectives.
But yeah, that one's not on my list at all.
I mean, I'm not watching it as an emotional thing. I just am curious to see what
I think
it is.
I think it tarnishes or diminishes Tyson's reputation even that much more myself.
It seems like a one big, long charade to me.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. But I mean, I say that. I mean, I know it's out there. I haven't followed any of the details. It was supposed to be out there 6 months ago.
That's what I was saying. And there's been so much I don't want to say press, but there's been so much interaction and highlights and different reels and product endorsements and all this stuff. It just seems like a big charade
I haven't
almost.
seen any of it.
Oh.
So
Well,
I'm obviously living in a different algorithm than you are at the
oh
moment.
yeah. Yeah, my timeline's way different than yours. But it's just I am in the point where I'm not sure if it's real. Not my timeline. The Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if the whole thing is completely staged and made up.
That's what I'm getting at. So that's one of the reasons I'm watching it, just to figure out what it is. Because not that I have any disrespect for Jake Paul, but it seems naive at the least to think that you can get in the ring with one of the best punchers we've ever witnessed in this generation. Just even with his age being a factor. I've seen some of his sparring videos as of late, and it is downright terrifying. The man still hits like a city bus. It's insane. He's so strong and so fluid. When Tyson was in his prime, I'm sure the conversation happened in your circle. Would you step in the ring with him for $1 million? People are like, oh yeah, I would.
No, we were
No,
all
no.
not a chance in hell.
But I mean, that was a question that people talked about. I'm like, no, I'm scared shitless. He would freaking murder you unintentionally. And that's what I'm saying. Like, just the audacity of this 20-something-year-old kid to think not only is he going to get in the ring with him.
30 something now.
Oh, is he?
I'm thinking he's been.
I'm an old dude, so he's a kid.
I understand, but hasn't he been doing the MMA UFC stuff for
No,
several years now?
I think he's just been boxing, as far as I know. I don't know.
Okay.
But he doesn't seem like a tough guy, comparatively speaking, to Tyson. Tyson is a freaking animal.
He's got to have some appreciation for Tyson's capability and has to have some reasoning that he can stand up to it for some reason, I would think. They've definitely had enough time to sort all that out.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's not like a guy that just slammed 6 beers and is hanging out at the side of the ring. I'll hop up in there.
Yeah.
This has been going on for, what, 2 years now? Seems like it anyway.
Who of those guys do you think's more likely to ride a bike? You think either one of those guys would ride a bike?
Tyson used to.
Yeah.
That used to be part of his cardio routine, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
I wouldn't be surprised if Tyson still rides a bike, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong because, riding bike's good cardio.
Great cardio.
Great cardio. Even an e-bike's decent cardio as long as you're watching your heart rate. Oh, and along those lines, I am now a watch guy.
Yeah.
I am now a watch guy.
Are you left-handed?
I am left-handed. Are you just now? Oh, man, that hurts.
I'm sorry, I haven't had a hand job in a long time.
For me, you have. That's for damn sure.
No, I did not know that you were left-handed. Caleb's left-handed too.
A lot of creative people are.
And some people are just left-handed.
I don't deny that.
So what is this, the Wahoo?
This is the Wahoo Rival Watch, which just absolutely got slaughtered in the market, but it's a $99 watch at the moment. And no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Why do you keep flicking it like that? What is it doing something with it?
No, I'm just looking at it. I'm just messing with it.
So does it
It's definitely the most rock solid.
does it run all your metrics and stuff just like a Garmin? It tracks your heart rate and all that business?
Yeah, it does all that, but it's the best heart rate monitor I've ever had. No ifs, ands, or buts about
How so? Because it monitors your heart?
No, it's no glitches. It's completely stable. No funky in and outs or weird numbers or anything like that. And it's always on my wrist, so I don't forget it. Like my armband one I have now, which I've liked very much.
Yeah.
You recharge it.
Yeah.
So I'll put it on the charger, and there. Sometimes I'll leave.
This thing charges stupid fast and lasts forever. 30 days.
I assume it's a Garmin.
Uh-huh.
I had the lower end Garmin, the Garmin Instinct, and the heart rate monitor on it was terrible. It's horrible.
This one seems to be fine. But speaking of Wahoo, that's one of the things I was going to bring up. It somehow showed up on my feed last night as I was just messing around on my phone. So Wahoo has a treadmill now.
Yes.
I forgot what it's called, but
Probably runner without any valves or something like that.
But it somehow utilizes cameras and AI to adjust the treadmill to your pace. So As you speed up, it speeds up. As you slow down, it slows down. And it's much like the Peloton style platform where it has workouts you can do and all this stuff. And I was like, huh, how much is that? So I went onto their website and looked at it. Just guess. How much do you think a treadmill is from Wahoo?
$4,000.
You're close. $5,000.
Okay.
But that's just the purchase of the equipment. I didn't look and see if there's a subscription required or anything. But $49.99. I was like, sweet Jesus, you can get just a treadmill for $200. I'm like, that's crazy to me to run inside. And you're going to spend $5,000. I just sack up and run outside.
Yeah, but how many of those do they need to sell each year to make it worth their while
I don't know.
to sell those? They're not trying to sell 1,000,000 of them. I'm certain of that.
Yeah, but how many are they going to sell? That's my question is, in 4 years, or is that still going to be a thing for Wahoo? Or is this just some spaghetti they're throwing at the wall to see if it's going to stick?
All I can equate it to is passionate indoor cyclists, which is a tremendously smaller niche than passionate runners, particularly triathletes and people that are training for marathons and stuff like that. I'm not saying it's nothing, people are willing to spend $2,000 to $3,000 for an indoor bike setup that are traditionally outdoor cyclists, but that's not everybody's willing to spend that amount. Realistically, the closer to 1,000 you get, like the new Zwift bike setup, that's definitely gonna increase them. But there's definitely people that are willing to spend, let's call it $2,500, and the cycling market for that is so much smaller than the running market. And that's my guess is Wahoo probably recognized that at this super niche level, they were able to sell X number of smart bikes.
And have we discussed Wahoo is bigger in the European market than it is in the American market? Or is Wahoo primarily an American market thing?
I think their market share is probably about the same, European versus US.
Yeah.
It's an American company.
Oh.
They're Pepsi to Garmin's Coke. There's no doubt that they're in market share, they're well behind Garmin, but they're well ahead of Hammerhead or whatever it is now, SRAM, whatever it is. So, but then Wahoo's huge on the trainer market. They're on the smart trainer market. They're probably number one there. But I was talking on the bike computer. They're second to Garmin.
Yeah.
It's a solid company. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Particularly now that they bought themselves back out from and they've got a new computer coming out in
Wahoo? What's it going to be called? Do we know?
I assume it's another Element Roam version 3 is my assumption. I
Okay.
don't know any details on it.
Yeah.
There's a high likelihood I'll take the chance and just buy it sight unseen and try it out. We'll see. I was this close to, because it is time to update my bike computer hardware. I was this close to going Garmin. Something, I can't remember what. No, I guess it was when I got this. And I had this up and running and intuitively knew how to work everything on it in 5 minutes. And my Garmin watch, I had to spend 2 days getting it set up the way I liked it. And once I got everything set up, I like this watch. It does everything I'd like it to. And now that I've got it, I'm happy. And 2 weeks later, when I hadn't used everything, and I'd forgotten how to do everything. It's, damn it, how do I get my route back on this?
Yeah, I'm extremely guilty of getting a piece of equipment and learning the bare minimum of how to navigate it, and it having hundreds of features that I either don't know how to use or don't even know exist.
Right,
So,
and that was the thing. Out of the box, the Garmin Instinct didn't really offer a whole lot to me without setting some stuff up.
Yeah.
But okay, so I got to read this little tiny instruction manual with this tiny print, and I'm going to figure out how to do these things. And once I spent the time with it, okay, it does all this neat stuff, and that is stuff I will use someday.
but all of them are online now. There's manuals and stuff.
Not when you're in the middle of Big Bend.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And that was the thing. It was like, I get to Big Bend and I need my watch to do this. I can't remember how to do that. Can't get there. And that, again, that's a Kevin issue. That's not a Garmin issue. Garmin logic and interface and everything doesn't line up with me intuitively.
Yeah, but you're also an Android guy, so we'll take all that for what it's worth. Some people like their cucumbers pickled. I happen to like Apple. I happen to like Garmin. I happen to be a Fox guy over a RockShox guy. I like SRAM. But I'm not going to fight anybody about
But
it.
I like them all.
Yeah.
I have them all. I don't lean towards one over. The only one I lean away from is the iPhone. That's the only one I lean away from, and that's specifically just from a cost analysis. I can't justify $1,000 phone.
Yeah.
I've come close to justifying, but every time I'm about to justify,
Yeah.
this one's $400 and does all that. And when I do break it, I'm gonna be less butthurt.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, like, I feel like I've been conditioned into that corner because I do justify my phone. And primarily because my phone is the major thing I use. My laptop, I literally only use it when we podcast. And occasionally I use it for work stuff, like listing, making posts or stuff. But for the most part, I do everything on my phone. My phone is my camera. My phone is my communication device. I have 45,000 pictures on my phone, which is excessive and ridiculous. But just the fact that you can do that and your phone's not just bogged down is pretty freaking awesome.
But it seems to bog down your computer. So.
Yeah, my computer's a piece of shit. It's antiquated. It is not an e-bike. It's from, I think this is 2015. You know, it's served its...
You've gotten your money's worth out of it.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Let me see. I don't know how to tell how old it is. But it probably needs to either be loved on by someone that knows way more than I do. I'd love to just wipe it. But
you should be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm not a computer guy. Did you bring a bike today?
I did.
You did? Are we going to go for a ride?
No.
Oh, speaking of, let's talk about the freaking bike you brought. The baby elephant in the room.
Episode 80-something brought to you by Brompton.
I totally, because it's so out of sight, out of mind, so tiny, I completely forgot that it was even here. So Kevin walks in with this, I'll call it a bike, but it's folded up, this literally almost a single wheel, and not even a 29er. It's smaller than a 29er wheel in volume or in circumference. So which model is this?
It's what they call the C-Line Explorer.
The C-Line Explorer. I thought you had your eyes on the G or whatever it was.
The G-Line.
The G-Line.
The G-Line.
So what's the difference between the C-Line and the G-Line?
This is a 16-inch wheel.
Okay.
With rim brakes. The G-Line is a 20-inch wheel with disc brakes.
Okay.
Generally speaking, and there's geometry differences, but it's still the same basic trifold design and everything.
Yeah.
The G-Line is intended as a gravel/adventure bike, and this is more of a city commuter type.
There's the letter association I was trying to work through.
G is gravel.
G is gravel. C is city.
Yeah. And then they also have a T-Line, which is
trail.
Titanium.
Oh, titanium.
And
I love me some titanium. How does rim brakes work with a folding bike? Does it have complete housing? Does it have uninterrupted housing?
I haven't looked at it. I just pulled this out of the box last night.
You gotta be kidding me. Let's see it.
Okay. All right.
I'll talk people through it.
You talk people through it.
Yeah.
All right.
I can't even see it right now. I'm waiting for him to pick it up. I totally forgot you brought this in here. 26.5 pounds. That's not crazy. It is a pretty green, like a sage green maybe. No, that's not a mint green. No, like an olive sage. That is quite the seat post. Oh, it's got foldable pedals. Is that suspension? So it's got an elastomer.
It's got an elastomer suspension block there.
I don't think those cables are supposed to be routed like that. Looks like your handlebars are on backwards. What the hell is going on there? I would move that cable out of the way for sure. There you go. And Brompton is they're a European brand, correct?
Made in London.
Made in London. Oh, they fancy, huh? So how do if every time you fold that, you move your seat post, you collapse your seat post all the way in, how do you get it back to where you need it to be? Are there any markers or indicators on the seat post? Any incremental hash marks or anything? Okay. Sure. And what's the big block on the head tube? What's that for? Oh, it's got a bag set up. It's a bicycle.
It is a bicycle. It is a bicycle. But it is a bicycle that can go anywhere.
You're not going to join any biker gangs with that thing.
This is not a Brad bike.
Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah. Yeah. I see it. It could be fun. It's a whole nother animal in my brain.
It is most definitely a whole other animal.
Yeah. I'm going to fall over. I get the allure. It's just, I'm not a commuter. I'm not a city rider. I don't use public transit. I'm not catching rides with people. It ticks a lot of boxes for people that aren't me. I'm a ride from my garage kind of guy and go everywhere, do everything. One bike to rule them all.
Understand completely. Understand completely.
But I do get the allure.
So here's where I see, and the more time I've been spending with it, the more ideas that pop into my head of where it's actually going to be useful for me. Here's a use case scenario that I realized this morning that I hadn't thought about before. When I'm pulling the camper, so obviously I've got the camper hooked up to the truck, so I'm not able to put my bike rack in the truck.
That's
on the truck.
That is super valid. I get that.
So yeah, can I throw the bike in the bed of the truck? Maybe, or maybe
in
I
the
got
camper.
No, I can't.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah,
I don't want to put a bike in a camper, man, because anything that's in a trailer like that, it gets slung around like crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
It's going to tear up the camper and the bike.
Yeah.
But typically speaking, when I go camping, I usually got shit in the bed, and I've usually got shit in the back seat.
Yeah.
And to get a bike in the back seat of the truck, that takes some finagling usually. Yeah. So I got to thinking about it, I was like, yeah, when I'm in the camper, actually that makes a lot of sense. And a lot of times when I'm going camping or using the camper somewhere, I don't necessarily need to be going. I can just pedal around the park area or the camping area or the state park or whatever it is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I'll be perfectly fine. Obviously, another use case that comes into play now is if I'm running to Florida to spend time with my folks, I can hop in the Kia and just throw it in there.
Or you can just leave it in a vehicle and just always have it with you.
And then the big thing for me is along the idea, and it's one of the things I do talk about on the riding everyday aspect of things. Just when you're out running errands, when you're doing stuff, if you always have a bike with you on the way home, you may go by somewhere that you can ride for 45 minutes or more. And that's exactly how I'm going to use it today. On my way home, I'm going to stop at Texas Motor Speedway and do a couple laps around Texas Motor Speedway.
Oh, geez. I hope you're videoing that.
But specifically because I do have so much experience doing those laps, I'm going to know how it rides differently compared to everything else I've ever
That's what I'm saying. I hope you're recording it, not because it's going to be entertaining, just because I'm going to get your real live feedback. And because I know how you are, you're going to tell us this thing, how it is.
I'm going to say how it is.
Yeah. So I'm interested on that.
I have installed the camera mount on the handlebar.
Yeah, I saw that. That's why. But literally, this thing is so small, I completely forgot it was there, and it was just over the edge of the table. I get that is a huge quality that can't be overlooked, even though it's a very small thing that it packs down to. But so I get that,
and we are back into, at least in that format, in that commuter format. No, it does not replace a gravel bike. No, it does not replace a mountain bike
or a road bike.
But
It's just like a townie.
Yeah.
And how many gears does it have? There's a lot of cables and clickers on there.
So technically speaking, it's a 6-speed.
Okay.
All right. So it has a traditional derailleur with 2 speeds. And then it has an internal hub with 3 speeds.
That's clever.
But it's 2 different shifting patterns. So the internal hub, you have to stop pedaling in order to shift gears in the internal hub. But the 2-speed external derailleur, you have to do
Wow. That's some left brain, right brain shit right there. Hey, speaking of stopping to pedal while you shift, what's your understanding of pinion gearboxes?
You have to stop.
You have to stop pedaling.
That's my understanding.
This is just me, because I've been going back and forth with Shannon on this, and we've been talking about it because Gary down there at Race Ready Repair has one of the Moonlanders, the new ones, with the pinion gearbox.
Yeah.
And Shannon and him and I were talking about it because he showed up and rode fat bikes with them. Gary showed up and rode fat bikes with him and Bragg, and he was telling me that you had to stop in order to shift it. And for some reason in my brain, I thought, no, that's one of the beauties is you can shift it while you're not pedaling, but you can also shift it while you're pedaling. And Shannon was adamant. No, you have to stop.
You have to stop pedaling on it. You're confusing the transmission.
Yeah, I guess once again, that's one of those things that I was in my mind. I filed it away one way, and that was just the way it was. So I didn't know if I was the only one that was confused, or if maybe you were as well. I'm not trying to bring you down with me.
So you are the one that's confused. I'm not, correct?
Yeah, this guy confused. I thought, no, you're 100% right.
But
I was just making sure that I was the only one.
You just brought up the use case I was about to when you were talking. This is not a Brad bike. Much along the same lines that a fat bike is not a Kevin bike.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm starting to really appreciate about this is true N+1 land here.
Oh,
As opposed to a slightly different variation of some. Okay, here's my fat tire drop bar
yeah.
gravel bike that's almost a mountain. Okay, it's an N+1, but it's a mountain bike, which I have one of, but it's a gravel bike, which I have. This is true N+1. This is a unique beast.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. That is a 100% N+1. I don't know, because I would imagine that there are a lot of Brompton owners that is potentially their only bike.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, cyclists, they market to people that need a bike.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at. I guess I'm trying to think of how to say this the right way. But how does a market like this survive? And then we're saying, and maybe it's because Brompton's one of the only people doing it, but we're saying the e-bike market is slowly dissolving, or have at least having a big pullback, because it's not necessarily an N+1 market, when this is most decidedly a single bike owner
This is niche upon niche. So that's the current.
But I'd be curious to know how many Brompton owners also own another bike that is not a Brompton, because this is a culty thing as well, correct? People that are into Bromptons it's almost like a Jeep market. There's 100 accessories for it.
Very much.
Yeah.
And just a very dynamic Reddit community, and all. The resale market is ridiculous. You can sell one that's 20 years old for more than you bought it 20 years ago, sort of thing.
And there's a touring market for people tour on these.
They race them, but along those lines. We talk about the e-bike market now being saturated, but it's because everybody's doing e-bikes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking in real time, yeah.
So
who else is doing this?
There's a distinct e-bike market. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And let's say Yamaha was the only game in town. They'd be killing it. They'd be owning it. But if tomorrow every major bike manufacturer starts putting out trifold bikes like this, there is not a market to support that any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, that makes sense. But who else is even in this realm? Is there anybody that's competing with Brompton? Does Brompton have any competition?
There are other folding bikes out there. They're mostly bifold, so they don't get as compact as that, but they're also half the price or less. That as it sits is an $1,850 bike right there.
What's the thumb screw that's in the middle of is that a stem? Whatever that ridiculously long thing is. What is that thumb screw for?
It's an insert that goes into a clamp when you fold it down. So when you fold it down, that slides into a clamp and keeps the handlebar attached at that point.
All right.
It's like a cupboard catch.
And why are your brake levers like vertical? I think those cables are supposed to be on the other side of the stem.
Maybe. I don't think so, but I'm not sure. Again, I'll look at all the documentation and everything. There was no assembly of this. That's the way it came out of the box. My guess is it's upright brakes, because that's the only way it folds. If you have the brakes angled out, it's not going to fold flat.
That doesn't seem very comfortable, though.
Again, this is a commuter bike. It is not a Century bike.
Yeah.
There are people that ride Centuries on it. Make no mistake about that.
Now, there's a challenge. A Brompton Century.
I'm going to get my G-line and I'm going to do the Taysha on the Brompton. That's my plan.
Is it really? Because that's not the first time you mentioned that.
No, that's
legit.
It's something I'm interested in pursuing. It's something I'm interested in pursuing. And I say that. I didn't know which bike they were sending me. This is a demo. This is a loaner. Okay.
Fair.
So as much as I might somewhere be interested in actually purchasing a Brompton, I think I probably will be somewhere down the road. This is an ideal way to test it out and get familiar with it and see what its shortcomings may or may not be, what its strengths may or may not be.
Sure.
I didn't know what model was coming.
Yeah.
In the back of my mind, I was
Hoping for a G line.
I was hoping it would be,
Yeah.
but I didn't think that was a realistic possibility because they're not available in the U.S. yet.
Oh, they're not.
No,
What do those start at?
I think they're 2,500. I
Okay.
think.
Is it similar transmission though? Like it's a two by three or whatever?
I think it's a 12-speed, but I'm not positive of that. Same general format, just more gears, but I'm not. I hadn't dug down to that level yet, and who knows? Maybe the U.S. models are going to be different than the Euro models anyway.
Yeah.
But I knew one was coming. I didn't know which model, and I was hoping it was going to be the G line. But then I got to thinking about it. I think I would rather start with a traditional one and then compare the G line to it after I had some experience with this. Because if I just start out on the G line, that's what that Brompton is.
You said these are 12-inch wheels?
16.
16. I'm sorry.
16.
And they're Schwalbe tires, I noticed.
Schwalbe Marathons, I do believe.
So this is an interesting exercise for me because I see the appeal for a multitude of people, but I can't think of a single application for myself. I'm trying. I'm like,
no.
I'm cycling. This would be great if nothing. There's nothing for me.
Again, nothing's for everyone.
No.
But the more time I spend with this, the more applications I do see where, I could use it. Like I said,
The camper thing is freaking brilliant.
for me, that's been a big stressor of mine of going camping. When we take two vehicles, not a problem.
Sure.
But if it's just me, and usually when it's just me and the camper sort of thing, or just one vehicle, there's not a lot of bike riding involved usually.
Yeah.
But part of that might have been because I couldn't take the bike thing. Definitely the road tripping quick road trip to my parents for a few days or whatever else. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense to me there. To be honest but again, just the going out and running errands aspect of it, always having a bike there in case I go to Dallas for a meeting and I don't want to leave a bike on the rack when I'm parked downtown or anything like that.
Yeah.
The security aspect of it is something that's really playing in my head for stuff like that. And then on top of that, along those lines, if I'm just farting around on the Trinity trails or some of the pathways over there and I want to go sit down at a restaurant or a bar or something like that and have a beer, I would much rather have my bike sitting next to me as opposed to worrying about it sitting out on a bike rack out in Deep Ellum somewhere or something like that.
Yeah. Speaking of, did you see Pathless Pedal Burn Peak Express?
His Dallas one?
No, he put out a newer video. There's I forget the name of the company, but it's basically a seat that comes off the bike and the rail system unfolds and it's a lock.
No, haven't seen that at all.
He's talking about, well, it's heavy, and B, it's not a super secure lock, but he goes into the thought process of you would only lock this up at somewhere that you probably really don't need a lock. And so it's almost like counterintuitive. Like when we go to East Side on a Tuesday night or whatever, I just take my helmet strap and put it around my wheel and around a baluster or whatever. So it's just to discourage somebody from snatching and grabbing it.
Sure.
And hopefully it becomes a spectacle because it gets caught up. Or I shift it into the hardest gear as well. But that made me start thinking, I never really ride anywhere that we're so blessed that we can ride places and keep our bikes either in plain sight or bring them inside
But in turn, you ride to places that fits for as well.
True. That's true.
So that dictates some of your decision making on your routing and things.
That's very true. Very true. Yeah. Yeah. One begats the other. Yeah. It makes sense. But that being said, there's just not as many places with bike racks as you would think there would be.
No, there aren't. There aren't.
And there are places that had bike racks that don't have bike racks anymore, which is even more interesting.
And that's part of the equation.
Yeah.
Now the one thing and when I spend some time on the bike, it will adjust from there. I'm not. This bike is not on the top of my list for playing in traffic at the moment. I could be persuaded differently, and a couple of laps around Texas Motor Speedway will help me establish that benchmark. But I see this for the time being where it will be very bike path centric in its use is my expectation. Some downtown stuff, maybe, if I'm downtown Fort Worth or Dallas. Usually that's, unless you're in the meat of rush hour traffic, that's usually pretty manageable, generally speaking.
Yeah. But better with a group.
But agreed.
Is there a Brompton DFW group?
No idea. I'm sure there is,
There
but
is.
I don't expect that I'll be spending much
I think
time with
this is maybe the first time I've ever seen a Brompton in person.
I've seen them go by from time to time. It's definitely the first time I've laid my hands on one.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, or buts about that.
I'm interested to put my hands on it after we wrap this because I want to fold it up and unfold it
Understood.
and pick it up and
We'll-
probably spin it in the driveway and
We'll
stuff.
we'll do all that good stuff.
Yeah.
We'll do all that good stuff.
What's coming up for Spinistry?
So we have our Back in the Saddle ride out of Tioga this weekend. And obviously Texas Chainring Massacre and Privateer towards the end of January. Everything else is
Slowing down for the holidays.
just on hold because we don't know what our travel schedule is
Here.
for the end of the year. So we got to see how the rehab works for my dad. After he spends a couple weeks there, we'll have some idea what the rest of his year might look like. We don't know if he's coming home or not, quite frankly, at this point. So we got to see how all those pieces come together and then see how that works with my mom. And then along the way, we'll throw in some Club Spinistry pop-up rides here in
Yeah.
St. Johns County, Florida, and probably in around Monticello, Georgia. Through the end of the year, we'll have some Spinistry rides, but they'll be pop-up last-minute things.
Speaking of, I didn't even know this was a thing. Who Jack White is, right?
Yeah.
He announced a pop-up concert. He's going to be at, I forgot where, tonight. And he just announced it yesterday.
Okay.
I didn't even know that.
Somewhere around here.
Dallas, yeah.
Oh.
Adam sent it to me.
It's too late to get.
Yeah.
That's the last concert I went to was Jack White. So
Yeah, I didn't even know that musicians did stuff like
it's
that.
Jack White. He does his own thing.
And I salute him for it.
Yeah, we did. What is it? The Bomb Factory or what? I think that's what it is. So we did that, and he was doing the no cell phone show where you had to use the zipper bag, and I enjoyed it. I really did. But I'm a Jack White fan.
Yeah, what's it, his new album? I forgot now.
How was your show Saturday?
It was amazing. I want to show you one picture. We had incredible seats, and I need to remind you that my kid bought the tickets.
I remember.
We were fourth row, dead center of the stage, behind general admission. And general admission got really thin in front of us because the stage came out like a big pillar kind of.
Mm-hmm.
It was at Globe Life. We were center field directly between the foul poles. That's how deep we were in the field. Those are cell phones.
I get it.
It was insane.
And for those who are listening, what show was this? Who was this?
Cody Johnson was the headliner. Tracy Bird played, a guy named John Party, and then Ella Langley. But
Was there still Linkin Park funk in the air from the night before?
it didn't even smell skunky. I feel like it was like a Craigslist misconnections thing, though, because it startled me, too. Because Harnish was just there the night before.
Oh, did he go to the Linkin Park
He came
show?
in town to go to Linkin Park. I think he was in town for something else.
Right, made it. Just
Yeah.
put them together.
But I was like, oh, Harnish was here just 24 hours ago, and I didn't get to see him. So it was a tremendous show. The sound quality, just the way everything was put together, the lights, and just the showmanship was just amazing. I was blown away. But the only thing was they have to put down this modular flooring across the entirety of the turf.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't help but think, how long does this freaking take? Because it's probably 3x3 or maybe probably 3x3 blocks. And each one of them has to be oriented a certain way, and then they lock together. So you have to put a key in there and lock it. And then they have all the metal railing that goes up. And then they have all these foldable chairs. Each row was all foldable chairs, and they were all zip tied together to keep them in line, I guess. And I was just like, I always think about the production.
The logistics of it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, setting up the stage and setting up all that light scaffolding and hanging speakers and all that, that seems like a production in itself. But to convert this entire stadium, and then they had temporary staircases that came, because you come in from the outfield, and they had a temporary set of staircase that takes you over the alley that is between the outfield and like basically where the bullpen area is. So you walk over, there's a wall at Globe Life, there's a wall, then there's like a 10-foot difference between where the next wall starts for the spectators. There's like an alley there that's not necessarily the bullpen,
Right.
but it's just this alley. So they have a walkway that comes over that and then temporary stairs that go down. There was at least, I think, 8 sets of those because there's 4 on the first base side and 4 on the third base side. And then they had all this curtain marking off all of this section in the back. It was just, it seemed insanity for me.
There it was.
But it was also, then I start thinking about the sheer numbers of the thing. I think he said there was 30,000 people there. It was a sold-out show. And Gage and I were just talking on the way there. It was like the median ticket was probably $200. So it's a hell of a take.
Right,
And then they
right.
didn't just set that field up for that one concert, like we said. Lincoln Park played the night before. I'm sure their numbers were maybe similar, I'm guessing. And then the night before that, I think Pink played.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they did a multitude of concerts back to back, so they didn't set it up for that just one event.
Gotcha.
But I'm sure
That was something I was wondering about because when the Lincoln Park show went on sale, I glanced at it. I knew I was supposed to be in Big Bend. I knew I wasn't going to go to the show, but it was like I was just curious how much the tickets were, and all the shows they had done so far had been these shows in the round where it was a stage in the middle of of it, and everyone was around him. And then they did the Globe Life one, and it was an end stage.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's weird. Why are they changing it up for us?
How much were tickets, just out of curiosity?
I mean, they were, I think cheapest were like 125 and then some $400 and
Yeah.
maybe even some $600 ones.
Yeah.
I didn't look that.
So probably median price was about $200 there as well.
200 to 300.
Yeah.
I think the stuff I was interested in was in the 250 to 300 range, if I remember right.
Yeah. And I bet Pink was more expensive than that.
Maybe. I don't.
Yeah.
Is she still a big thing?
With the ladies love her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't dispute that.
Yeah.
You know how dialed into pop culture I'm not. So.
But did you know Lincoln Park has a new lead singer?
I've heard. Yeah. So actually, again, I wasn't a Lincoln Park fan. I was an Emily Armstrong fan. So I got excited by her going to a big band.
Where'd she come from?
Band
Besides her
called-
mama's belly.
A band called Dead Sarah.
I feel like you mentioned that before.
I have.
It fell off my radar.
Very definitely.
Dead Sarah.
Yeah.
Sounds like emo.
They've got some
Kinda.
excellent music.
Okay.
And the new Linkin Park album drops on Friday. Yeah.
All right. This weather's not going to get any better. Let's go ride our bikes.
I think I will fold up my bike and then go unfold it and go take it for a ride.
I want to touch it too.
Okay, we can do that.